So first of all, welcome to UC San Diego. Truly, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know that we have lots of time zones represented. Shout out to those of you who are staying up late or waking up very early to be here. I see you. I appreciate you. My name is Grace Fuller. I have the pleasure of serving as the manager of student experience and engagement here at the International Students and Programs Office. I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Karina, who's also on the call today. And yeah, Karina and I are heavily involved in planning orientation. And so it is just so exciting to actually be here. I don't know if you've ever been involved in like planning for something for like months and months and months. And at a certain point, you're like, let's just do this. Like, I just want this to happen. So it's been really fun to be able to meet some of you virtually. And I'm really excited to hopefully meet a lot more of you in person next week at our in-person programming. A fun fact about me is I love to snorkel, and I have not always been obsessed with snorkeling, but when I moved to San Diego actually is when my love began. But La Jolla Cove is actually a marine park, so it's an underwater park. And one of the reasons why is that there's a couple different ecosystems that converge to create the biodiversity that it has. And so when you go snorkeling in La Jolla Cove, you snorkel with all these different types of fish. The Garibaldi is the California state fish. It's like bright orange. It's beautiful. There's a lot of sea lions you snorkel with. You can like swim through caves. It's just, it's amazing. And then right now, September is leopard shark season, one of my favorites. So if you go to La Jolla Shores, you can swim with leopard sharks. They're completely harmless, but they are gorgeous. They're like gorgeous animals. I love them. So if you see me at a coffee hour or a social, feel free to ask me about snorkeling or my favorite beaches or anything outdoors is typically what I'm into. So would love to talk to you about that or really anything else. Okay, let's get into what is the GET CCR. So the GET CCR stands for the Globally Engaged Tritons Co-Curricular Record Program. Now, your first question is probably, what is my co-curricular record? And that's a great question. So essentially, your CCR is the complement to your academic transcript. So when you graduate from UC San Diego, you will get a transcript, right? That's going to list all the different classes you took while you were a student here. And it's officially validated by the university. So it carries a little bit more weight, right? Well, your CCR is the complement to that. So it actually comes with your academic transcript, and it's going to list essentially all of your learning outside of the classroom. So where your transcript will list the classes, your CCR is going to list different opportunities and activities where learning took place outside of the classroom. So it's really cool because anytime you're involved in like a student org on campus, or you have a student leadership position, or you volunteer, you can put those activities on your CCR, on your co-curricular record, and they will be validated by the university, carrying that similar weight. And the transcript and the CCR come together. So then when you go on to apply for jobs or apply to graduate school or professional school, many students will submit both their transcript and their co-curricular record. Also, this is like it's a much more informal meeting. So if and when you have questions, you're welcome to submit them through the Q&A. You're welcome to submit them through the chat. Karina is helping me kind of monitor them, and we'll kind of call out any good questions. So if I cover something and you're like, wait, I still do not know what that means, please go ahead and let me know. Okay, so for the co-curricular record, essentially, in order to participate in a co-curricular record activity, the activity needs to meet different competencies. So each CCR opportunity typically meets 3 competencies. And these competencies are identified by actually the board of, I'm forgetting the term itself, but essentially what employers want to know that students will graduate with when they graduate from university. So that employers want to know that students have developed oral, written, and digital communication skills. They have developed teamwork and cross-cultural collaboration skills. So for each different opportunity as a part of the CCR, it's going to develop 3 of these competencies. For the GET CCR specifically, the 3 competencies that you'll develop by being a part of the program is the first, understanding global context. So we hope that by being involved in the GET CCR program, you will demonstrate an understanding of complex global issues and systems and how issues and actions have local and global implications for the future. Second is the teamwork and cross-cultural collaboration competency. So we hope that students will work with and seek involvement from people and entities with diverse experiences towards a common goal, demonstrating strong interpersonal skills, respect, and dignity for others. And finally, self-reflection. So students will assess, articulate, acknowledge personal skills and abilities, and learn from past experiences and feedback to gain new insights and understandings. So the GET CCR program is one of the activities that you can list on your CCR. So in the same way that your transcript would have multiple classes, your CCR is going to have multiple activities, and the GET CCR is one of those activities that you can be involved in. So the GET CCR is a program that enables all UC San Diego students to earn credit on their co-curricular record for being involved in events on campus that promote global engagement and the internationalization of our university. So essentially, you get credit for being involved in different events where students can highlight your own culture, where you can learn about other cultures, or you in general develop an international awareness or global leadership skills. So who is GET? Who runs GET? So there's a few different offices on campus that come together to offer the GET CCR program. One of those is our office, the International Students and Programs Office. We're under the department umbrella of Global Initiatives. We also have our partner office, Study Abroad, who works with us. And then we work with International House. And International House is located over in Eleanor Roosevelt College, ERC. And it's really cool because it's a living learning community. So actually, half of the students in iHouse are international students and half the students in iHouse are domestic students. And they also offer a lot of programming that increases the global engagement of our campus, which I'll get to more into in a minute. So many of the GET CCR eligible events are hosted by one of these offices. However, we do have other events that are offered by our partners across campus or different student organizations, and then you. So every student that is a part of our GET CCR program is a part, we consider, of our Globally Engaged Tritons. Okay, so now, how can you earn GET CCR credit? So in order to have an activity validated on your co-curricular record, you must complete 30 hours of approved activities over the course of the year. What's cool about the GET CCR is that instead of being involved in like one type of activity, one type of event, you can actually mix and match different activities and events however you choose, as long as you meet that 30-hour goal. So for some of these activities, participating in select intercultural events. I joke that if you really want to, you could probably earn the majority of your GET CCR hours during orientation alone, because there are so many intercultural events that qualify for GET CCR credit. So if you come to our global coffee hours next week, each one of those counts for GET CCR credit. Our lunch and learns, our other sessions like our snack and sees, our grad social, our international grad social, our IPC open, our international peer coach open house. So a lot of intercultural events. Additionally, if you would like to volunteer and help us work an intercultural event, so let's say we are planning a Diwali event or we're planning a Lunar New Year event. If you volunteer to help us work that event, you can earn hours towards your GET CCR by working that event. And then we have some students who are like, Grace, I really, really want to bring Carnival to UC San Diego or a Holi celebration to UC San Diego. So you can actually request funding and run your own event that serves international students or promotes cultural awareness here on campus. And through that process, you would also earn hours. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ways to earn those 30 hours towards your GET CCR validation. I will make just one small note that to earn hours over the course of the academic year, it's typically like fall, winter, spring quarter, and then summer is attached to the previous academic year. So for example, if you were to take part in activities this summer, they would attach themselves to the 22-23 academic year. And then next summer would count for the 23-24 academic year. I also have some students who maybe you're an exchange student. So maybe you're only here for 3 months. You're only here for fall quarter. And they ask, Grace, can I still participate in the GET CCR? Absolutely. So you have up to a full academic year to earn those 30 hours. But by no means do you need to use the full year. Some students truly complete their GET CCR 30 hours within fall quarter. Bada bing, bada boom, they're done. So you can definitely kind of take as short or as long as you choose, just making sure that it is within the course of one academic year. Reason being is that actually each year you're at UC San Diego, you could list this on your CCR. So you could list it for the 23-24 academic year. And then if you want to be involved again, you could list it for the 24-25. So there's different ways to do so. Okay, so how do I know which activities are eligible? So I'm hoping by now you have heard of our iEvents calendar. That is really, truly, this orientation counts towards this academic year. So good question. If you are attending this orientation, it will count towards the 23-24. So once we hit orientation, that's kind of our official start. So everything from here into the future, this week into the future, is counting towards the 23-24 academic year. Great question. Okay, yes. So our iEvents calendar is really our one-stop shop for like everything that's happening on campus that has somewhat of a global focus, international awareness, etc. And you can see here that there are different tags, right? So right now we are in orientation season. Our iEvents calendar is filled with all these orientation events. We love to see it. If there is this tag that says GET CCR, that's how you know it will qualify for GET CCR credit, which is pretty awesome. So like I said, truly, if you could earn most of your hours for the GET CCR just by attending orientation events. We love to see it. Coffee hours. Ooh, that is a great question, David, and I'm going to get to that in just a few slides. So essentially, whenever you see the GET CCR hashtag associated, you know that automatically qualifies towards your GET CCR. That's a pre-approved GET CCR event. So here are some of our signature GET CCR events. So Global Coffee Hour. Next week, we're offering it every single day. So Monday through Friday, 10:30 to 11:30. Once we're out of orientation, we offer it once a month. So every month we'll have a coffee hour in our eucalyptus grove. We're really excited to see you there. And that is always a GET CCR approved event. Our partner, International House, iHouse, hosts language conversation tables. So language conversation tables, essentially you can sign up to be an LCT host. So if you are fluent in another language, which many of our students are, you can sign up to be an LCT host and earn GET CCR hours that way. Alternatively, if you are hoping to practice a different language, you can be an LCT participant. I think this is the Japanese table here, and practice a different language. And every time you attend, that would count towards your GET CCR. Another one is our international peer coaching program. So if you are an undergraduate student, an international undergraduate student, you have an international peer coach. Surprise, so fun. So by meeting with your peer coach, you can earn up to 10 hours just meeting with your international peer coach. They're great. I would strongly recommend it. And that will count towards your GET CCR. The International Mixer. So we try to have one large scale event each quarter. So for fall quarter, it's our International Mixer. That's happening on Wednesday, September 27th, I believe. That will also count towards the GET CCR. So as you can see, there's kind of a theme here. Like you basically go to like social events and you can earn credit. which is kind of a sweet deal. So I have to say, I feel like the Get CCR is like a nice program to be a part of, but then you can also use it for professional development. I know a lot of, sometimes students will be like, Grace, every time I apply for a job, they ask me what experience I have, but how do I get a job if I don't have any experience? And something like the CCR is a great way to like build your experience, to build your resume in order to get sometimes that first job or that first internship, etc. Okay, so to David's great question, how do you keep track of your Get CCR hours? So each student is responsible for keeping track of their GET involvement. So we have a handy dandy thing called the GET CCR tracker. And the GET CCR tracker is essentially like a Google spreadsheet that allows you to track the different events. So you can fill out this biographical information at the top, and then you would essentially put the date, the quarter of the week, the event name, the host, how many hours it was, and how you heard about the event. And then that will help you keep track. So you're like, great, I attended every orientation event. I already have 20 hours, which is awesome. So this is a way where you can kind of keep track of the different hours you're accumulating. Then once you reach 30 hours, that is when you share your tracker with us. So our email is getccr@ucsd.edu. And that's where different events hosts will confirm your participation. That's also why it's really, really, really important to check in at events, because that is how the different events hosts are going to validate your attendance and thus validate your hours. So if you attend, let's say, coffee hour next week, please make sure to check in so that you can get credit for attending coffee hour. If you attend the international mixer, again, check in. I'll also say that like registering for an event and checking in at an event are different. So registering indicates your interest in attending. Checking in is actually demonstrating that you are there at the event and you have attended. So checking in is what we use to validate your hours. So it's really important, especially because we have different events hosts for different events. And so it's not just like one person in a million places, but we have iHouse validating for language conversation tables, right? We might have Karina validating for the internet or for global coffee hour. So it's really important to check in. Okay, so how do you sign up? How do you enroll in this program? This is how to get things rolling. So one, you're going to make a copy of the Get CCR tracker. So Karina very helpfully just put that in the chat. So you would open that, make a copy. I think it's kind of set up, the default settings are that you have to make a copy. Please rename the file your name, Get CCR tracker. I can't tell you how many people have just shared like a Get CCR tracker with me. And if we don't have your biographical information, we like don't know who it is. We don't know who to give that validation to. So make sure that you rename the file itself as well as fill out the biographical information. Important to know, you will want to open this when you're logged into your UCSD account. So make sure, let's say on your browser, that you're logged into UCSD, and this is going to be a common experience throughout your time at UC San Diego. Many times, if a file is shared with you, it's set to only be shared with folks inside our organization, inside UC San Diego. So you want to make sure that, like, this happens to me. Sometimes I'm logged into, let's say, like my personal Gmail, and I can't access a file. But if I switch into my UCSD account, I can then access the file, right? So just a friendly tip there. And then finally, we have instructions and a frequently asked question sheet as tabs as a part of the tracker, and make sure to review that. Okay, so that's a little bit about the Get CCR tracker. Your second step is to fill out the pre-evaluation form. So by attending this webinar, well, not even, by attending this meeting and then filling out the pre-evaluation form, you will have already qualified for a half hour of credit towards your Get CCR. We love it. So you can go ahead, fill out that pre-evaluation form. And then I will say at the end, you'll fill out a post-evaluation form, and that will count for a half hour of credit too. So just by filling out the pre and the post-evaluation form, that can be an hour towards your GET CCR. So that's pretty nice. So go ahead and fill out the pre-evaluation form. That's also how you enroll in our program. So that's how we'll have your email address, and that's how you'll kind of be on our radar. We then use that list of emails, and when there's like an upcoming event that we want you to be aware of, or maybe there's an opportunity to volunteer at an event, maybe we need student panelists for this program, we will email that list, and we get that list from the pre-evaluation form. So it's really important to fill out. Then you're going to see events that qualify for the GET CCR via ievents.ucsd.edu. And then at any point, if you have questions, please email us at getccr.ucsd.edu. All right, some of our frequently asked questions. Is the GET CCR just for international students? And the answer is no. So because we want to promote a global community here on campus, we want to offer events that are for both international and domestic students. So at Coffee Hour, our goal is to try to bring in a global community. At orientation, understandably, it's going to probably be mostly international students, but that's incredible. You get to meet folks from around the world. But we do have different events throughout the year that are trying to bring in both international and domestic students. Is the GET CCR just for undergraduate students? No, so both graduate and undergraduate students are eligible to participate in not only the GET CCR, but also just the co-curricular record in general. And then this usually applies a little bit later down the line, but let's say a friend hears about the GET CCR program a little bit later, you can get credit for something you've already attended. So let's say you attended the international mixer, but you didn't know about the GET CCR program, you could previously. That actually reminds me of something that I want to highlight. So I'm going to go a little bit off book here. Surprise. And I'm going to pull up, we have a website, getccr.ucsd.edu. And okay, here's what I want to highlight. This is actually, I want to confirm. Can you all still see my screen and that's the website? I don't know if I just shared the slide deck or if I shared the screen itself. Karina, okay, perfect, thanks Karina. So if there is something on our iEvents website where you're like, I think that should qualify for GET CCR credit, that seems to meet the purposes of the GET CCR program, you can ask and you can petition for it to qualify for GET CCR credit. So let's say you're attending the International Graduate Student Social and you're like, I feel like that promotes, learning about different cultures, learning about different people. I want to petition for this to count for GET CCR credit. You can fill out this form, and we would just say, like, please list, a little bit about you. Oops. And then you'll essentially just kind of demonstrate why that event fulfills one of these competencies: understanding global context, teamwork and cross-cultural collaboration, or self-reflection. So that's one thing I just wanted to mention, is that if there's ever a time where you're like, I think that this should count for GET CCR credit, we would love for you to petition and kind of so that we can add it to our repertoire. I will just note that it has to have a staff validator. So it has to have someone from UC San Diego who's able to validate your attendance at the event. So that's something to keep in mind. I think we had one student who, I want to say, like, volunteered for the linguistics department and volunteered for like the German language. And he had the faculty member validate those hours and he was able to count those hours towards the GET CCR. So please use this and petition and be creative, and we can find ways to support you. And that also helps us understand what are different ways that we can add signature events for the GET CCR program. All right, thanks for letting me go a little bit off book. Right now, I'm going to pause. Does anyone? Okay, great, David. So yes, so you have attended this orientation and we have it in our records, so we'll validate that for you, and you submitted the form. So you will get the half-hour credit of the GET CCR orientation. That should probably be the first thing that you list on your GET CCR tracker, is this GET CCR orientation. You can list it for a half hour of credit. And there's nothing else you need to do. So now you would just kind of start to peruse and look at different other ones that you want to start going to, and then you can start building out your hours that way. Any other questions? Karina has been just putting really helpful links in the chat, so she's just making my job very easy. Okay, while I'm waiting for folks to submit questions, I am going to see who else is here. Dia is looking forward to literally everything. I love it. That's the kind of... Okay, good question. So we had a question come in, said, there are many events like Lunch and Learns, which are already full, that are in-person meetings. Are there any ways to still participate? I'm currently on the wait list. This is a great question. Unfortunately, due to the nature of some programs, they do fill up pretty quickly. However, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. So for our events, if you have registered in advance, we do want to thank the students who have registered in advance. So they will get priority admittance. However, after the first like 5-10 minutes of the event, if you have registered but you haven't showed up, then we open up the event to whoever is physically there. So if you come early at events, that is always in your best interest, because you will be one of the first people, even if you're on the wait list, to then be admitted once we open it up to the general audience. So if you do register, that is great, because you're going to get priority admittance. You'll definitely have a spot, but still come early, come at the beginning. And then if you come early, but you're on the wait list, you'll kind of be first in line, so to speak, to attend in case there are any no-shows the day of. I'll also say that this helps your cause, because many of our events offer, in-person events offer free food. And a fun thing about UCSD is that events with free food are very popular. No surprise here. And food can run out at events. So if you come early, you also up your chances of making sure you get some of the free food that will be offered. So in general, I always say that if you're on the wait list, that doesn't mean that you can't come. I would actually encourage you to still come. You might have to wait a few minutes until we open it up for general admittance. But the likelihood is high that you can still attend and be admitted. The Lunch and Learn is probably the hardest, just because it's in the large conference room, so there's a physical space cap, and we do have to cap that at 35 people. But it still happens. Like last year, we were able to admit a lot of people who just showed up the day of, because we had a number of no-shows. However, things like coffee hour, you can always come. Things like our socials, like our mixers, the international mixer, even if you're on the wait list, I recommend still attending, because it's really helpful to, but the likelihood is high that you'll still be able to be admitted.
There's a great question in the chat, Grace. Is there going to be a big in-person orientation like our college orientation before international students?
That is a great question. So international orientation is a little bit different, just because we have, as even on this call, we have so many students and so many moving pieces, if you will. So there's no like one, like this is international orientation. Instead, it's kind of phased, right? So this week is all of our virtual sessions. And that's because we have a lot of our students are still traveling and they're still in their home countries. Next week is all of our in-person programming. And so coffee hour is often, I have students say that it feels like the orientation, because that's when you're meeting a ton of other people. You're meeting a ton of other international students. You're meeting our staff. but those pieces of orientation aren't mandatory. They're just strongly encouraged. So there's no mandatory part of orientation that's in person. More so, there's a lot of different opportunities for you to connect with us. The only mandatory part of international orientation is the iTriton Canvas course that you've already completed. Yes, participation for this event, let's see, what time is it? Is a half hour. We're quick. Yes, sign up for coffee hour. Okay, is the CCR only something to show employers, or does it also benefit me academically? It's a great question. So kind of both, I guess. Typically for academics, like what you would show for academics is going to be your academic transcript, right? That's going to list the different classes that you took during your time at UC San Diego. However, I would say that the CCR does support learning. And I think learning takes place both inside and outside the classroom, right? That's actually why the CCR exists. So in terms of that sense, and I think it does support you academically. So I think you can, I mean, students use it for a lot of different purposes. So sometimes they'll use it to apply for like a research position on campus in a lab. Sometimes they'll use it to apply for an internship. So I've seen students use it in a lot of different ways. Also, if you come to a lot of events and get to know, let's say, like one of like the program coordinators, sometimes by building, that's a way that you can build that relationship and then ask for a reference letter and things like that. So I think there's a lot of different ways that I've seen students use the GET CCR and the co-curricular record in general as well. All right. There's been a lull in questions, so I'm going to go through our last few slides and then let you all kind of submit any last burning questions you might have. But we have meetups. So meetups are hosted by students for students. So if you would like to connect with other students who have similar interests as you, highly recommend checking out our meetups. Our bus tour is, so that's the one where we're limited to the actual number of students we can fit on a bus. So please, you can join the wait list, but that's probably the trickiest one. But that explores different parts of San Diego. We have our International Student Fan Fest, which is our collaboration with athletics. So there'll be a meetup before the game where we'll have like free pizza. You can meet different international student athletes who are on the team. It's going to be really fun, and then attend the game itself. Welcome to a D1 school. It's pretty cool. And then, like I said, our international mixer, the 27th, global coffee hour. What athletic events? Oh, okay. Unolympics. Haha. Unolympics is so it's a UC San Diego tradition, and Unolympics is like when the different colleges compete with each other, and it's not necessarily like, how do I explain this? It's not necessarily like an athletic event per se, in the sense that it's like a volleyball game or like a soccer game. It's more so like different competitions where it might be like, I don't know. I feel like I've seen them do like a 3-legged race or like a egg toss or things like that. So they're more just like fun games that where the different colleges compete with each other, less like strict like athletics games where it's like an actual game of volleyball. The bus tour on the 23rd coincides with the ID distribution event. Is there a way to circumvent that? I would suggest maybe trying to attend the bus tour on the 16th instead, if that works better for your schedule. Here are a lot of our mixers. So if you're a grad student, I would highly recommend our mixer on Monday, the 18th. If you're an undergrad student, I would highly recommend, I know it says International Peer Coach Open House, and that can sound a little bit more formal, a little bit more academic. The International Peer Coach Open House is a mixer for international undergraduate students. So if you want to meet other international undergrad students, you should go to the IPC Open House. There'll be food, there'll be games. Yeah, I would recommend that. That's on the 20th. And then if you participated in the Global Ambassador Program, that's our peer mentorship program for undergrad students, the GAP Mixer is on the 27th. we know all about the IMN's calendar. And then finally, we are doing a giveaway. So follow us on Instagram. I think that's already been posted. If you take a picture at one of the many events that we have going on or one of our workshops, you can share that to your story or to your feed and be entered into our raffle. So we're excited about that. Okay, we made it to the end of the session. So take some time to fill out that survey. And as always, I would be remiss to not remind you to submit your check-in form if you have physically arrived in the US. That is so very important for your international student visa status. You can always register for other sessions. And then if for some reason you need to contact ISPO, the best way to get in contact with us is icontact.ucsd.edu. Okay, that is all I have for you today. Oops, I'm not seeing any other questions. Okay, well, the hours get added to my account by filling out the tracker document. So the tracker is for you to kind of keep track of all of your hours. So you will physically add them. And then once you hit 30 hours, you will share them with us, the GET CCR staff, to validate those hours. So that's how the GET CCR tracker is going to function, but you will actually input that information. You will input those hours, and then once you reach 30, you'll submit it to the GET CCR staff.
And just to add also to that, there is a separate portal that kind of makes everything official and actually generates the official CCR record. And that would be sort of the step after. But because you're at the beginning of that journey of accumulating the hours, we'll share those details once you have completed 30 hours and shared your tracker with us.
So there's actually going to be, we're gonna end now. And Sarah, maybe you can stay on and we can go through that together, but I just want to be respectful of everyone else's time. So yes, we'll go ahead and thank you everyone for being here. If you have other things to do, I know that people are busy, so feel free to go do what you need to do. And I am really quickly going to stay on with Sarah and talk about how to add hours to her GET CCR tracker.